People think The Little Mermaid ended with a kiss, a wedding, and a happily ever after, but the real story was never meant for children. It began with a girl who traded her voice, not for love, but for a chance to exist in a world that didn't belong to her. And when she failed, she didn't live under the sea or dance in a castle. She became foam. Gone, erased as if she had never existed at all. That's not a fairy tale, that's a tragedy. And tonight, we're telling the version Disney never wanted you to hear, the one they never told you. The one Disney buried under laughter, songs, and a happy ever after that never existed. Because before, it was a movie. Before there was a smiling redhead named Ariel, it was a story of pain, of sacrifice, and of love so deep, it could break a soul in half. Hans Christian Andersen wrote it in 1837, not for children, not for fairy tale lovers, but for himself. Andersen was lonely. He spent most of his life on the outside looking in, a poor boy from Denmark who dreamed of beauty and belonging. But what haunted him wasn't poverty, it was love. He fell in love with a man named Edvard Collin, his friend, his muse, the person who filled his letters with aching poetry. Andersen confessed his feelings in private, but Collin never returned them. He got married instead, and Andersen, crushed and speechless, did what artists do when reality hurts too much. He turned it into a story. A story about a creature who loved someone she could never have. A being trapped between two worlds belonging to neither. Someone who would give up everything just to be seen. That was the birth of The Little Mermaid. But the tale Andersen wrote was not the cheerful fantasy we know. It was closer to a prayer and a warning. The mermaid's world wasn't the colorful coral paradise of Disney's ocean. It was cold, silent, beautiful, but suffocating, a kingdom of shadows beneath the waves. She was the youngest of 6 sisters, and she was different, while the others were content with pearls and palaces. She longed for the world above. She would rise secretly to the surface, watching ships drift by, studying humans as they danced, loved, and laughed, things her kind could never truly feel. When she turned 15, she was finally allowed to rise to the surface. That's where she saw him, the prince. A young man standing on the deck of a ship, laughing in the wind. For a moment, her heart, if mermaids even have hearts, forgot how to beat. Then came the storm. Waves shattered the ship like glass. She swam through the wreck, searching, until she found him unconscious, sinking. She carried him to the shore and laid him in the sand, brushing the water from his face. When he awoke, she hid, because mermaids don't belong on land. He never saw her, but she saw him smile at another girl, a human one, and something inside her broke. That night, she went to the sea witch. Andersen's witch wasn't a flamboyant villain with a song. She was a creature that even monsters feared, living in a cave of bones, surrounded by the skeletons of things that once had voices. When the mermaid told her she wanted to be human, the witch laughed. "Do you know what that costs?" she asked. The mermaid nodded. She would pay anything. The witch gave her a potion, dark, pulsing, alive. "1 drop," she said, "and your tail will split into legs. You'll feel pain sharper than knives, but you'll dance like no human can. And once you walk among them, you'll never return. You'll have no voice, no song, no way to tell him who you are. If he marries another, your heart will break and you will die, turning to foam at dawn." The mermaid took the bottle without hesitation, because when you're desperate for love, even death looks gentle. She swam to the surface. She drank the potion. It burned like fire inside her veins. Her tail split apart, and she screamed soundlessly as blood mixed with salt water. When she woke, she was lying naked on the shore, trembling, weak, and bleeding. The prince found her there, and he smiled. He thought she was a miracle washed up from the sea. He carried her home. Every step she took hurt. The witch hadn't lied. It felt like walking on broken glass. But the mermaid smiled through the agony, because pain meant she was closer to him. He called her little one. He danced with her, but he never fell in love. When he spoke about the girl who saved him, the one he believed had dragged him from the water, it was it was someone else, a princess from a nearby temple. And when the prince finally found that girl again, he was overjoyed. He married her. The mermaid watched the ceremony in silence, every step on the dance floor cutting her feet open. Her sisters stood in the waves, watching her too, their eyes full of sorrow. They knew what would happen when the sun rose, but the witch wasn't finished. That night, she sent the sisters to her, their long hair gone, traded for one last favor. In their hands was a silver dagger. "If you kill him before dawn," they said, "and let his blood fall on your feet, you'll be free. You'll be a mermaid again." The little mermaid took the knife. She went to his chamber. He was sleeping beside his bride, peaceful, unaware. Moonlight shivered across the blade. She raised it. Her heart screamed, but her hand refused. She couldn't. She loved him too much. So she walked to the deck. The sea was whispering below, familiar, cold, waiting. She looked one last time at the prince's ship, then threw the dagger into the water, and she jumped. The waves closed over her, and her body began to dissolve. Her skin turned to foam. Her voice, what little of it remained, rose as a sigh that vanished into the dawn. But death didn't take her, at least, not completely. As she faded, She heard voices soft, like wind. They told her she had become one of the daughters of the air, spirits of light and sorrow, invisible beings who wandered the world doing good deeds, earning a soul over centuries. She was neither human nor mermaid now, just a whisper between worlds, condemned to drift, unseen, until she could finally earn the thing she had always wanted most, a soul. Andersen's mermaid didn't dream of romance. She dreamed of existence. Humans, he wrote, have souls that live forever. Mermaids do not. They fade like sea foam when they die. For her, love wasn't about happiness. It was about transcendence. She wanted to be more than what she was. She wanted to be human, not because of the prince, but because humans could be saved. In that way, the story was Andersen's confession. He longed for something beyond himself. Love, belonging, maybe even redemption. But the world told him no. So he gave his pain to the sea. When Disney adapted the story 150 years later, they stripped it of its soul. They gave her a name, a smile, a father, and a happy ending, because the world doesn't like stories that hurt. But in doing so, they buried the message that made it timeless. The real mermaid isn't just a fairy tale princess. She asks every person who has ever changed themselves for love, who has ever lost their voice just to be accepted. She's every broken heart that smiled through pain, every outcast who tried to belong in a world that doesn't see them. And that's why Andersen's version still feels so hauntingly familiar. Because deep down, we all know what it means to trade a piece of ourselves for something we think will make us whole. The tragedy of the Little Mermaid isn't that she died, it's that she loved in silence, that she gave everything, her family, her body, her voice, for someone who never even realized. And in the end, she disappeared without a trace, remembered by no one but the waves. Even now, when you hear the ocean at night, some say that sound, that distant hiss of water turning to mist, is her voice. A sigh that never ends. A soul still searching. There's a strange beauty in it. A story that began as a man's heartbreak became an eternal myth. And while Disney gave us a fairy tale, Andersen gave us something raw, something that mirrors what love really feels like. Not easy, not perfect, but transforming. He once wrote, "But a mermaid has no tears, and therefore she suffers more." It was the truest thing he ever said. So the next time you see Ariel singing beneath the sea, remember, behind the melody lies the echo of a scream. Behind the glitter is the shadow of a girl who turned to foam because she couldn't bring herself to destroy the one she loved. And behind the happy ending, the world knows. There's another one drifting somewhere beneath the waves, unseen. A spirit, still whispering to those who dare to listen. To love is to die a little. And some of us never stop drowning. So tell me, if love costs your voice, your body, and your soul, would you still pay the price? Or are we all just chasing a dream that was never meant for us to have? Subscribe to Mystery Vault for more real mysteries the world still can't explain.